Yeah, so it's interesting. So for me personally, and again, there are a variety of views on this. I've got good mates who will see their workplace as a mission field, and they will actively seek conversations with people around Jesus. I suppose I've always been a little bit more circumspect than that, particularly in Australia, where we have a sort of post-Christian society, and particularly given the senior leadership roles I've had, I've been very careful about overtly talking about Jesus to people. Hey, this is what Jesus says on this thing. And I'm not sure necessarily in my context that would have been helpful. And certainly my approach has been not to be shy about the fact that I am a Christian, that I do follow Jesus. And hopefully when you do mention those sorts of things, people see a congruity with how you behave. So the sort of Galatians 5, fruit of the Spirit, would people looking at you and how you conduct yourself in the workplace identify you as a Christian? Or once they've walked alongside you in a workplace for 5 years and they hear that you're a Christian, go like, that makes sense. They shouldn't be surprised by it. That's always the challenge. So look, I think different people, so different personalities, that'll play out differently. Different workplaces, that might play out differently. So for me, it certainly has been more of a observe my life and see, when you hear that I'm a Christian, what does that tell you about Christianity? I think the one thing I would say though, so finding the balance in that, is not to be ashamed about the fact that we're Christians. So I think very often we're like, you get the question, right? So it's not I'm not actively proselytizing people, but hey, what did you do on the weekend, Gunther? And I think so quickly we devolved to, I took my kids to footy. Not, I took my kids to footy, and I spent Sunday at church. We had a welcome lunch. And I think we omit that, right? Because we were scared about how it might be perceived, or am I going too far? Somebody's asked you about your life. Stop being embarrassed about it. And you know what, if they find church weird and uncomfortable, they'll stop asking you. And that's okay. But I think let it get to that point. Don't feel that you can't share just your life with people when they've asked the question. And when somebody's asked you the question, they're genuinely interested. And so, hey, I did, I spoke at an Easter camp this year. What did that involve? And don't skirt that. Actually give people the detail. And when they've had enough, they'll stop asking. But as long as they're still asking, they've opened the door. Don't be ashamed of the gospel.